Good morning and welcome to West Coast Grandma. Elizabeth here, and today I'm going to kind of share a bit of an experiment with you. I wanted to do a video on my grandmother's scones, which are delicious, but I also love the sourdough part, and so I have now combined a couple of recipes, my grandmother's and one that I used to use with yogurt, and I have replaced that with sourdough starter. Now, the sourdough starter I have today is pretty active. It's starting to settle down a bit. I made it with discard, and they were absolutely delicious. So this is kind of a good way to use up starter discard if you have it, or if you just want to use your really active starter. So today I'm going to do a little variation. I'm going to do blueberry lemon scones with half of my batter, and with the other half I'm going to put currants in it because that's what my grandmother always did. And I'm going to do two ways of cooking it. So I've got my two pans ready on the stove because I just cooked a batch of sourdough bagels, and I'm just going to reuse those. So first of all, we are going to mix up our dough. So I have 1.5 cups of just unbleached flour, so we'll put that in, and 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour. Now that is a change from my grandmother's recipe, which, by the way, there it is, my grandmother's recipe. I wrote this down when I was really quite young. I have this book where I've written all these recipes in, so it's really kind of cool to go back, nostalgic for sure. So she did not use whole wheat flour. I think that wasn't really such a big thing way back then, but I am choosing to use whole wheat flour. So here I have 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And I'm going to mix that into there as well. Get all that out. And I have 1/4 cup of sugar. Now, again, as you probably all know, I don't use regular sugar. I use the monk sugar. I am going to sprinkle regular organic cane sugar on the top, though, because you have to have sprinkled sugar on scones for sure. So I'm going to get my whisk here and blend this up a little bit. Now, before I started, I cut 1/2 cup of butter, and I just set it in my freezer, and now I'm going to grate it into here. So it's kind of like when we were making pastry and I grated the lard. So I'm going to just grate this into here. Actually, I'm going to do it on the counter. I know my grandmother used to use lard, I think, or butter, and she would cut it in the same old-fashioned way, rubbing it with her fingers. Or I have my pastry cutter. I could use that, but I find that this works great. And the pieces are all tiny. And now I'm just going to put all that into my flour mixture. Like, see how that is? Like, it's just kind of just like grated cheese. Okay, we're going to put that in. And just mix this around a bit. Good, so that's the dry ingredients. Perfect. Alrighty, now I'm going to mix my liquid. So for my liquid, I have 1/2 cup of milk and 1 large egg. From Flatlands Farm, of course, where I get all my eggs there from Karen. Her eggs are so awesome. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. A teaspoon of lemon rind or lemon zest. And I don't know if you have this particular tool. This is the best thing I ever got as far as grating, zesting. I mean, it works for like Parmesan cheese when you get a block. It works for nutmeg, but it's the best thing. So if you don't have one of those one day and you want to treat yourself, get one because it's really a good thing. All right, so I have those. Now I'm going to put my starter in. And I am going to use about 1/2 cup of starter. And as you can see, it's nice and bubbly. There we are. Now, I have recently started weighing my flour and water when I feed my starter. And I think maybe it is better. Somebody told me and commented on one of my videos that the weight isn't always exactly right when you just use like dry ingredients in a measuring cup like this. So I have been weighing it, and it's easy. I just put this container on my scale, and then I just tare it back to 0, add 50 grams of flour, tare it back to 0, 50 grams of water. So it really isn't, it isn't any more difficult. It's just a little bit more accurate. So there's our starter. Now we're going to give this a little mix in here and get that starter all mixed well into this liquid, because it is quite thick. And I think maybe that's why the discard works very well too. So either way. So you can whip up a batch of scones anytime you want, because you can use either the discard or nice active bubbly sourdough starter. Now I'm just going to pour this into here. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Sometimes I tend to do that. And always scrape everything out here. Make sure we get it all. There. Okay, we'll just give it a bit of a mix up here. Now, typically I would have already stirred the currants in. But because I'm going to do half and half, this is the first time I'm doing it, and I'm doing it for your benefit because I want you to be able to see that you can do both. And both are delicious. Okay. Alrighty, I think I need a wooden spoon to finish this off. And another bowl so I can divide it up. Now, when I put the blueberries in that half, you have to be careful with blueberries. They get a little bit, what do I want to say, smushed up when you try to mix them in here and you're using a wooden spoon. So I really wait until I get all the flour incorporated in before I attempt to stir in the blueberries. That's pretty good. Now, I'm going to try to take half of this. Put that in there. Like I say, I want you to see that you can do two things. Both taste really good. If you don't have fresh blueberries, I'm just lucky because my blueberries produce so well, and I've just started using blueberries from 2023 out of my freezer. All right. There, I think that's about half. So first of all, I'm going to stir in, or try to mix in, 1/4 cup of currants. There we go. They'll probably end out mixed in pretty well by the time I roll it out a bit. And now, again, my grandmother used to always roll out her dough, and then she'd cut it with a cookie cutter. This cookie cutter is about 50 years old. This is now I'm not sure if it's actually the original one that my grandmother used, that she gave it to my mom, or my mom has got one the same. But with the nice crinkly edges, that's what we're going to use. So let's put a bit of flour on here. And we're going to just put a bit of flour on here too. There we go. I'm just going to make it about 1/2 inch thick. And I'm going to use my cool little cutter here and just press out small little currant scones. And I am going to put them onto one of my baking trays here that's all ready. And then I will show you how I'm going to do the other section. And the nice thing is you don't have to grease anything because it's made with butter. Let's get another couple here. I'll eat that one. There we go. So put all those on there. Good. Now we're going to take our other half, and in that I'm going to very carefully mix in these blueberries. So I'm going to kind of spread it out a bit. I had them measured out in a cup in my freezer, but I left them in there till the last minute because I don't want them to start to thaw out. I wanted them to stay a bit hard so that I can mix them in here. Okay, I mixed up my dough with the blueberries in, and I've just flattened it out into just a nice round piece, because this one we are not going to cut. We are going to bake it like this. So now I'm going to lift it carefully onto my baking tray, and all I'm going to do is score it before I bake it. So I'm going to go like so. Now they're going to be a little smaller because this is a half recipe. So I'm just going to leave it in 4. Normally I would do 8. So I'm going to get my sugar. And before I do that, I'm just going to mix up a little bit of egg and milk together. And I'm just going to use my little silicone brush and just brush it onto these and my scones that have just the currants in. So I'll just mix that up and I'll be right back. Okay, I've mixed up 1 egg with about a teaspoon of milk, and I'm now just going to just use my little silicone brush here and just brush it onto the top because I want my sugar to stick. They look really nice too because they brown so nicely when you put this little bit of a wash on them. Okay, and now we're going to do our big one. Quick brush on the top. And this is just my organic cane sugar. And I am just going to do a little sprinkle. This is my husband and I's sugar treat. Just a sprinkle like so. There. And a little sprinkle on here. And now I'm going to put this in the oven. I have my oven on at 400. And it's about 22 to 25 minutes to bake. So we're going to watch them carefully. And I'll just pop them in and I'll come back when I take them out of the oven. Well, I'm just about to take these out of the oven, and I was going to mix up a bit of a glaze because I've got my lemon, which I used the zest, and I was going to mix a bit of lemon juice with some icing sugar just to drizzle on for a treat. I have no icing sugar, but anyway, that's what you can do, and that's what you usually get when you buy scones in the store. Okay, welcome back. I've got the scones to show you. Look at that. All right, here's my little round one, and these are my currant scones. They look delicious. Okay. There we are. Again, like I said, you could make the glaze and put that on, which is just the orange juice and icing sugar, which I cannot do because I don't have any. But that's okay. The little bit of sugar on the top is already delicious. So there's my blueberry lemon scones, and these are my currant scones. And I'm just going to show you the inside of one of these. Look at that, flaky and delicious. Bit of butter on there and they'd be delicious. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I will put both variations in the description. So we have the plain blueberry lemon scones. These ones are the black currant scones, and they're just the dried ones you buy from the store. They're both delicious, and they are really good made with the sourdough discard or the active sourdough starter, either one. So I hope you'll give that a try. West Coast Grandma is signing out.